everybody, it's Cousin Shannon in Iowa, and I am getting ready to make all of my holiday favorites. This year we're going to kind of have a more traditional Thanksgiving than we did last year, so come along with us and I'll show you what I do. I'm getting ready to make another thing that I love that my kids don't like either, like the sweet potato casserole. But in this I've got a package of fresh cranberries, cup and a half of sugar, and 3/4 of a cup of water in here. And I'm going to let this cook until just till the cranberries start to pop. Once they start popping, that's when it's done. So right now I'm just going to stir this. It's going to start boiling, and then the cranberries will start popping in a little bit, and then I'll show you what you do next. Don't know if you can see, but see how it's split open, so they're just starting to pop. So that's what we're looking for. So to the cranberries, I'm going to add 2 packages of Jello. So I usually use cherry, but what I had in the pantry today was some black cherry and some raspberry. So we'll see how it goes. This is probably going to taste good. Not too worried about it. So I'm going to add this, and then we're going to let it cool a little bit. Turn the heat off. You don't want the cranberries cooked too long. I'm just gonna keep stirring until the Jello is all dissolved. So we want to dissolve the gelatin. Then we're just going to set this to the side and let it cool off. And then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. And that's just going to be an apple, a stalk of celery, and some nuts, some pecans. So, and that is all there is to my cranberry salad. I'll show you what it looks like when I put the other ingredients in. So we got a lot of things going on at once. I've got stuffing getting ready in that pan. In this pan, I've got broccoli and cheese and rice casserole. So I'm melting some butter, about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add a large onion. This is the sweet potato casserole I made last night, and guys, if you were watching that video closely, I did not put the sugar in it. We're going to see how it turns out. This is just the casserole without the toppings, so it's going to cook for a little bit. Then we're going to add broccoli. Had some left over in a package, so I'm going to use it up, but I also have another package. I used to be able to find chopped broccoli, but I could not find it. The only time broccoli cuts, and they're a little bigger than I want. I don't like the big giant chunks, so we're going to chop those up. I bought some Rhodes dinner rolls, and I've got them in a cupcake pan, and they are rising. I just butter the inside of the pans and put 2 rolls in each spot, and then it comes up with those, you know, those mushroom rolls, kind of. It's the only way I can describe them. I might need a stronger knife than that. But yeah, I don't like, they might have to cook a little bit longer before I can chop them. So I'll break my pan. I'll let it soften up a little bit. But you're just getting this till the broccoli turns a little bit tender and the onions. I think I've already made a video about this, but it's a Thanksgiving favorite, so I wasn't going to make it, and then I woke up early, so I thought, why not? Also got my cranberry salad still going, and it has cooled off quite a bit, so I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients to that. Just got to rearrange a little bit. Got it sitting there. So I am going to add a stalk of celery and apple, whatever apple you like goes in there, but you want it to cool down a little bit before you put that stuff in there. And then about a cup of nuts. I'm using pecans, it's my favorite. So that's about a half of this package of 8 ounces. I got up early and I put my turkey in the crock pot because that's how I'm cooking that. So that's all I did was mix that into the cranberry salad, if you can see that. And then I'm going to put it in a bowl for it to set up the rest of the way in the fridge. I like it, not a lot of other people do. But there we go, there's my cranberry salad in the bowl. I'm going to put a lid on it and put it in the fridge. I didn't make a whole lot of cold things this year, so I was feeling like I better make something besides all hot carb dishes. Might as well make a cold carb dish with all that Jell-O. But if you can find chopped broccoli, it works a lot better. They're smaller pieces. I still even chop it up a little bit. But you want pretty uniform sizes. And I've had my rice cooking in the rice cooker. I put 2 cups of rice in there, 2 cups of water, and I put some Italian seasoning and garlic salt in there while it's cooking. Gives a little more flavor to the rice. And I also added maybe a tablespoon of butter, not 2. Got the broccoli starting to soften up. Got the pieces smaller. You can leave yours in big chunks if you want, but I prefer smaller pieces. I'm gonna check to see if my rice is done. This is just Pepperidge Farm herb stuffing, and to that I'm adding an onion and 2 stalks of celery. This is looking pretty good. So I think what I'm gonna do here is start adding the rest of the ingredients because my rice is done. If you don't have a rice cooker, they sure do come in handy. They're pretty consistent if you want consistent rice. Fix it just perfect. 2 cups rice and 2 cups water. I guess the trick is to remembering that you need to cook it, but it doesn't take very long, like 18-20 minutes. Just burnt my thumb with the steam. Be careful with that. Turn the heat off on this because it's done. All you wanted to do was soften up the vegetables. The rest of the cooking gets done in the oven. So, got that going. I'm gonna put the ham in the oven at about 11 o'clock. I told everybody to be here about 12:30. So. And then to this, we are going to add, I kind of like using the cream of chicken and mushroom. So it has both of them in here. Cream of chicken, cream of mushroom, cream of celery, whatever flavor you prefer, you can use in here. Not too picky about it, but I do like the flavor of this because it gives it that chicken flavor, plus it has the mushroom. If I'm making a bigger batch, or if I'm making it with, occasionally we have this as a main course, so I'll put chopped up chicken breasts in here or some rotisserie chicken. Then I use 2 cans of soup, so I'll do the cream of mushroom and a cream of chicken. So what I've got in here is the can of soup, and then I'm putting half a soup can of milk in there. It's got some juice from the onions and the broccoli because the broccoli was frozen, so it had condensation on it. So it's already got some liquids in there. We don't need to add more. And then the good old jar of cheese. I think cheese substitute probably. I think the original recipe that my grandma and my Aunt Dixie had, it was a small 8-ounce jar of this, but I use a lot more cheese. I just like it, so I want it cheesy. I don't use the whole 16-ounce jar, but most of it, the rest of it, I'm going to put in some celery for a little snack when everybody gets here. I want to make sure also to season this because I want it to taste good. So I'm going to put some pepper. It's got plenty of salt from the soup. I'm not going to add any salt except for what's in the garlic salt. And then I'm also going to put some Italian seasoning in there. All right. And then something I also do that wasn't in my grandma's recipe, I buy a larger, you're supposed to buy a small package of those French onions. And then instead of a small package, I buy the bigger pack. And I put a handful of those in this mix. You're going to put more on top at the end for the topping. And this is only going to bake for about 30 minutes. Trying to time everything so the ham can go in at 11. So yeah, I still have about an hour before I need to put it in the oven, but it's ready to go. And we'll finish mixing up what goes in the stuffing. So, I'm gonna move this over for a minute. Get this in this pan. I'm gonna spray it first. I use avocado oil or olive oil, whichever one I got. You could also add mushrooms, actual mushrooms in here. I bet that would be good. Some cheddar cheese if you wanted, some more cheese. I'll show you what the rolls look like after they get done rising. Right now they look like little biscuits. Last year we didn't make the traditional Thanksgiving. I asked the kids what they wanted this year, and Becca said, I want turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes, or I want ham, turkey. Nope. Becca said she wanted ham, stuffing, and mashed potatoes, and Noah said he wanted turkey, so I just bought a turkey breast. That's what's cooking in the crock pot, and then I got a small ham because Becca wanted that brown sugar ham, and I'm going to put some pineapple on top towards the end with some brown sugar. Good, good, good. Perfect. So now we got, so good. Sorry. I'm home cooking, so I can do what I want. So, got the Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix, and I get the herb stuffing mix. I got the celery and the onion chopped up. I'm going to go melt 4 tablespoons of butter, and then I'll show you what's next. So I've got the stuffing mix and the onions and celery, and in here I've got 4 tablespoons of melted butter. Throw that in there. Now, how my mother-in-law did it, and I miss my mother-in-law so much this time of year, but she would leave out a 16-ounce loaf of bread at night, and it would get dried out. She'd leave it on the wood stove at Russ's grandpa's house, and it would dry out, and then she would put onion, celery, she'd put 2 eggs, and the broth out of the bottom of the turkey. And she would just judge by when the bread seemed like it was wet enough. I'm just doing by the back of the stuffing mix. That's how I'm making it. It's the closest I get to Judy's. I'm going to go ahead and use the spoon from the... You want to mix that all up. So all the bread gets some liquid on it. Because that's basically what this is dried out bread. Somebody just did it for me. And she would put sage and salt and pepper in her stuffing mix. This is already ready to go with the herbs and everything. You want to get all the bread coated. And I'm going to let this sit over with the broccoli and rice casserole. And I'm going to do some dishes before I get going on the next round. So I'll be back with you in a little bit. So I'm making the streusel topping for the brown sweet potatoes. Got about 4 tablespoons of melted butter in here. I'm going to add some brown sugar, maybe. Get it out of the container. Want about a half a cup. I'll just about put the whole bag in there. And then I'm going to add some cinnamon. About half a teaspoon. That all mixed up in there. That looks good. And then just some chopped pecans. About another half a cup. I'm going to put the whole cup in there. I used about a half a cup in the cranberry salad. I'm going to put the rest. So it's going to make kind of candied pecans on top of the sweet potatoes. And then half of it I'm going to put marshmallows on. The other half, because some people don't like it with the marshmallows. This has been cooking pretty much the whole time we've been doing everything else. So it's time to put that topping on. I won't put the marshmallows on. I'll broil it at the very end. We're just gonna put this over the top of it. It's gonna make a nice crunchy caramely topping. And like I told you this morning, I totally forgot to put the sugar in this. So hopefully this will sweeten it up a little bit. I think it'll still be great. And then I have some, this stuff, the syrup is awesome. The bourbon syrup is wonderful. The spicy syrup I use in a lot of marinades, but this Great River maple cinnamon maple sugar is really good on cinnamon toast. Putting it on top of here. I'm going to stick that back in the oven so the topping can crisp up. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to put the broccoli and rice in the oven. And then all I have left really, guys, is to make the mashed potatoes. So I took the sweet potato casserole out of the oven. I put marshmallows on half of it because some people like marshmallows, some people don't. And I'm going to stick it back in the oven in a little bit after the ham's done under the broiler, just so it can toast up the marshmallows. I peeled the potatoes and I cubed them up really small so they'll cook a little quicker. And I just put enough water in to cover them. I don't fill it too full. And I also salted the water, and I'm going to bring this to a boil and get them going till they're fork tender. This is what the rolls look like. They haven't risen very much, but you just put 2 rolls into one of the cupcake cups. Becca ran to get me my last ingredient, but I'm going to make a cheese ball, and all I've got in here is some bell pepper and some green onion. I'm going to throw a cream cheese and some shredded cheese in here, and she's bringing me some dried beef. That's what I'm going to put in with it. And then my leftover celery, this is all I got left. I'm going to put some of the Cheese Whiz and peanut butter in there. I'm getting ready to put some pineapple rings on the ham. Might be able to get 3 on there. The rest I'm just going to put in a bowl if somebody wants some pineapple. Becca got back with the beef, so I mixed that in there. And this is just bell pepper, green onion, and beef. So I pulled the broccoli and cheese casserole out. And I'm just topping it with the leftover onions out of the package. And I'm going to stick it back in the oven for about 10 minutes. So I got the pepper, onion, green onions, and cream cheese. These are just peanut butter and cheese filled celery to finish up the last of the celery. Put about a half package of cream cheese or shredded cheese in there. Some seasoned salt. And a little bit of black pepper, not a whole lot. You want to have a square of plastic wrap ready so you can wrap up the cheese ball once it's mixed up. So just lay that on the counter. It all together. This is pretty much the same thing that's in a tortilla roll-up, except instead of dried beef, I put probably a diced up jalapeno pepper and some black olives. And I'd also add some sour cream and mayonnaise. But for the cheese ball, it's just cream cheese and cheddar cheese. Super easy, quick to make, and then you just serve it with some crackers. You want to make sure to get it mixed up, to get all those seasonings you put in it mixed in, and to break up the beef. Sometimes I reserve some of the dried beef and then roll it on the outside, but I'm not doing that today. And you just put it in the plastic wrap and mold it into a ball. And I'm going to put it in the fridge till everybody's here and get it out and put it on a plate with some crackers. I am making my mashed potatoes. They are fork tender, and I melted it. I just set a stick of butter and a stick of cream, half of a brick of cream cheese in here to melt while other things have been cooking. And I'm just going to add about a half a can of condensed milk, and I'll see where it's at after that. And I'm just going to mash it with a potato masher. I salted the water, so I'm just going to add pepper and garlic right now. I've got my gravy going in here. I just bought the canned gravy. Sorry guys. I'm doing hacks where I can. But that cream cheese and a stick of butter makes this so creamy. And then I use evaporated milk in here because it just makes it a little richer or something. I don't know. Want pepper, and then mix it up, and I'm going to taste it and see if it needs some salt. But otherwise, that's how I make my mashed potatoes. I pulled the rolls out of the oven, and I'm just going over them with some butter on top. I didn't let them rise quite enough, so they're not as big as they normally are. They're usually a big mushroom, but that's okay. It's just us. Here is our Thanksgiving feast. Got gravy, which is heating up right now. Mashed potatoes, messy sink, turkey in the crock pot, cranberry salad, stuffing, broccoli casserole, cheese ball, rolls, pecan pie, pumpkin pie. It looks weird, but it's real pumpkin. It's not canned. Sweet potato casserole, marshmallows and no marshmallows. And last but not least, the ham's finishing up under the broiler.